5 shocking rules Prince Christian must follow to marry Princess Leonor. Imagine this: a sunlit courtyard in the royal palace of Madrid, the Spanish flag fluttering gently in the breeze, and Princess Leonor, heir to the Spanish throne, walking forward in a flowing gown. People expect a royal love story, a tender declaration, a prince down on one knee. But here's the twist: Prince Christian's love for Leonor won't be enough. Because to marry her, he must agree to 5 shocking, almost unbelievable rules that test not just his heart, but his character, his loyalty, his very future. Yes, even in 2025, in modern Spain, tradition still demands price and sacrifice. And the cost of this love? It might be his freedom. What exactly are these rules? And how will they shape not just their relationship, but the future of a monarchy in flux? The royal and constitutional approval, not just her, but the crown and the Cortes. Christian's first major barrier isn't a jealous relative or a rival suitor, it's the constitution. In Spain, royal succession and marriages are not purely private matters. According to Spain's constitution, anyone marrying into the royal family may need permission from both the king and the parliament. This isn't just a formality or a quaint tradition, it's a legal requirement that could make or break their union. Imagine Christian, sitting in a room in the Palacio Real, dressed in formal attire, surrounded by courtiers and ministers. Across from him, King Felipe VI, Leonor's father, watching him like a general assessing a young officer. Then members of the Cortes Generales, the elected representatives of the Spanish people, quietly observing. In this moment, Christian realizes, his love is being weighed not just by hearts, but by laws. This rule raises a big question: what if Parliament refuses? What if their votes go against him? Could his entire future with Leonor be blocked by political maneuvering? And what happens to a prince in that situation? Does he retreat, or fight to change minds? But here's the heartbreak and the beauty: Christian doesn't just want to marry Leonor for love, he wants to be accepted by the very institution that she will one day lead. He wants legitimacy. And this approval process puts everything on the line: his dignity, his ambition, and his devotion. If the first rule forces Christian to win over institutions, the second rule forces him to win over public opinion, and to remain utterly spotless in the spotlight. Romantic love stories in royal families always fascinate us, but in Christian's case, his entire past is going to be scrutinized: childhood friendships, business associations, personal relationships, mistakes long ago. Even the smallest rumor could be amplified in the tabloids, turned into a political crisis, or used to embarrass the royal household. The truth is, Princess Leonor's family, and perhaps even her advisors, are not just looking for a charming foreign prince, they want someone who can uphold the dignity of the crown, someone whose name won't tarnish the monarchy. That means zero shady deals, no past controversies, no hidden debts, no public missteps. Christian must live his life like he's already in the palace: every message, every appearance, every handshake matters. He can't afford youthful recklessness. He must embody calm, responsibility, loyalty. But what if the past can't be cleaned completely? What if Christian made mistakes as a young man, but learned and changed? Would that be enough? Or would the royal family demand perfection, not just in public, but in private? And how would Christian prove that his transformation is genuine, not just strategic? This rule creates a constant tension: Christian's love is real, but his reputation must be flawless. And the more he tries to convince them, the more he risks revealing vulnerabilities. The third rule is deeply symbolic: Christian is expected to swear an oath to the Spanish Constitution and to the crown. This is not just a ceremonial gesture, it is a binding promise, a public commitment that aligns him with the Spanish state. In 2025, modern monarchies like Spain's are more than just royal families, they are institutions of the people, embedded in democratic systems. By pledging his loyalty, Christian is saying, I accept not just Leonor, but also Spain, its laws, its citizens, its future. Picture a moment in the Spanish parliament, in the ornate chambers, Christian standing before lawmakers, Leonor beside him, both solemn. When he raises his hand to take the oath, he's not just committing to marriage, he's committing to a country. He's promising to uphold democracy, the rights of Spaniards, and the constitutional order. That raises a powerful tension. Can a foreign prince fully embrace Spain's identity? Will Spaniards view him as someone who truly belongs, or as an outsider seeking a symbolic role? And what happens if Christian's beliefs or his homeland's interests ever clash with Spain's constitutional duties? This oath ties Christian's personal love to a political reality. It links his heart to a nation's history and future. And for him, every word of that oath will carry weight, not just emotionally, but legally and morally. Here's where the romance meets reality. Even if Christian marries Leonor, he will not become the king of Spain. According to Spanish constitutional tradition and laws governing the monarchy, the consort does not gain sovereign authority simply by marrying the heir. His title may be prince, but the crown of Spain will rest with Leonor. That means Christian must be comfortable being by her side, publicly, but not ruling. He must accept being a supportive figure, a partner, and a confidant, but not the monarch. For some, that might feel like second place, for others, a wise acknowledgement of modern constitutional monarchy. This rule poses an emotional challenge. Christian may yearn to protect Leonor, to guide her, perhaps even to influence state matters. But legally, he has no constitutional power. He cannot veto laws, direct policy, or act unilaterally in state affairs. His influence must come through personal counsel, not authority. Imagine Christian's internal struggle, wanting to speak up when Spain faces a crisis, but knowing he has no formal channel. Wanting to be a king in his own right, but being bound by constitutional limits. How does a man balance love with the humility of consort? How will he carve out a meaningful role when his power is symbolic, not legal? And from Leonor's perspective, does she trust him enough to rely on him, emotionally and politically, even if he holds no formal power? Their relationship will be as much about trust as about love. Finally, there's the practical, yet deeply personal, matter of money. For Christian to marry into Spain's royal family, he must agree to a strict property and wealth regime, one that is likely transparent, regulated, and perhaps even publicly accountable. In Spain, matrimonial property regimes can vary, especially under the system of vecindad civil, which ties individuals to regional civil law traditions. For a foreign prince, entering into a Spanish marriage contract means negotiating not only personal assets but also how his wealth and hers will be managed. Christian may have his own fortune, land, investments, family assets, but marrying Leonor means placing some of that at risk, or at least under a new framework. He might have to define which assets remain personal, and which are shared under the royal contract. That could mean putting parts of his wealth under the oversight of royal accountants, and possibly even Spanish institutions. What if their financial visions differ? What if Christian values financial independence while the royal household prioritizes transparency and tradition? What if a future divorce or separation becomes a legal and public battle? The stakes are real. This is not just about love, but legacy. This rule demands foresight, trust, and legal savvy. Christian must be willing to lay his cards on the table, not just his heart, but also his bank statements. His willingness to do that could either strengthen their bond or threaten to tear it apart. Let's pause and reflect on what all these rules mean for Christian and Leonor, and for Spain. Christian is not just a prince, he's a man deeply in love, navigating a minefield of tradition, law, and public expectation. He's not merely charming or handsome, he's courageous, because he's stepping into a life that demands not only loyalty but legal and moral commitment. Leonor, on her part, carries a heavy burden. As the heir to the Spanish throne, she represents continuity, hope, and a future monarchy that must earn the trust of a modern nation. Her choice matters not just to her heart, but to every citizen watching. Her decision to marry Christian is more than personal, it's symbolic. It's a statement that love and duty can coexist. Their love story, if it succeeds, will become part of Spain's history. A foreign prince pledges allegiance, accepts limits, lays bare his wealth, and vows to stand by the constitutional monarchy. In doing so, he doesn't just marry a princess, he becomes part of the Spanish story. But the tension never goes away. Questions linger. Will Parliament ever truly embrace Christian? Will the public accept him? Can he maintain an unblemished reputation under constant scrutiny? Will he find meaning in his symbolic role, or yearn for more authority? And when push comes to shove, can two people negotiate love, legacy, and monarchy without tearing themselves apart? Chained curiosity loops. Let's revisit some of the most pressing what ifs, because these are the moments that will keep anyone listening until the very end. What if Parliament rejects Christian's application to marry Leonor? Is there a back door, or is the dream over? Suppose a rumor from his past surfaces, will it derail their love, or will his transparency and humility save him? At his oath-taking, what if Christian stumbles, emotionally or politically? How will Leonor and her people respond? Without real governing power, how will Christian define his identity? As a partner, a confidant, or something more? And concerning their money, if they set up a shared property regime, what happens in a crisis, financial or relational? Each of these tensions must be resolved, or at least confronted, if their love is going to survive under the weight of crown and constitution. Final emotional moment. In the end, these 5 shocking rules are more than obstacles, they are the proving ground for true, lasting love. For Christian, agreeing to them means more than marrying Leonor, it means embracing Spain, its people, its laws, and its history. For Leonor, choosing Christian means risking tradition, but also daring to modernize the monarchy with a partner who is loyal, sincere, and willing to live by the rules. If he lives up to them, their union could become a powerful symbol of a monarchy that survives not despite modernity, but because of it. It could show the world that love doesn't weaken tradition, it renews it. But if he fails, the heartbreak will be public, the stakes royal, the consequences historic. So when Christian steps forward, when he swears his oath, lays bare his wealth, pledges his reputation, and kneels before King Felipe VI, he isn't just courting a princess. He's courting fate. And in that moment, every heartbeat, every promise, every rule will matter.